G'day everyone, Arjay here with Arjay's This Is Not Legal Advice, or TINLA for short, and nor is it. So I just thought to do a quick video. This relates to the 2022 election, upcoming federal election, and a suggestion. So the suggestion is basically, why don't we have the little parties that have similar goals? So a lot of the smaller political parties are one-issue parties, so to speak, even if they might have 5 issues or whatever, but they aren't obviously taken seriously by a lot of people, because a lot of people say, well, if they got in, then what would their policies be besides ending mandated vaccination, or getting rid of fluoridated water, something like that. Or, you've got the hemp party as another example, etc. So basically a lot of people don't take them seriously, and the same also applies for independents. So the beauty of being an independent, of course, is you're there to represent the people, not a political party. You're not there to support a really terrible idea that someone in your team came up with, nor to bag out an idea that is, generally great for the majority of people, but the other party came up with it. Sorry, I'm squinting a bit, but it's truly very bright here. Sorry, Demetra says, I truly believe election is not the answer. We need to remove the lot and start again. So a lot of people say that, and a lot of people will agree with you, Demetra, but a problem is that it's not going to happen. It's like we have Brian Shaw has another case before a magistrates court, in which case the magistrates court probably doesn't even have jurisdiction to hear treason matters. But Brian Shaw has been doing the same thing for 10, 20 years, something like that. He had misprision of treason and treason charges against... Sorry, just a second. I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Brian Shaw, since even Julia Gillard was the... Sorry, just text messaging someone back. When Julia Gillard was the Prime Minister, Brian Shaw used the same charges against her, and of course they were thrown out. He's done it in multiple states, I think Western Australia, Victoria, possibly New South Wales, where he has been declared a vexatious litigant, where he cannot support other people with their vexatious claims, nor conduct proceedings in a court without permission from the court. There is some merit to some of his claims, but then, some things are over the top. So his son, for instance, was telling me that I'm going to swing or something like that for running for Parliament. So according to the Shaws, apparently, if you run for Parliament whatsoever, then that's treason, in which case it's not, by definition, and therefore you should be executed. So, there is a grain of truth to, some claims that he does make against some people about misprision of treason. What that is basically, if someone's aware of treason, and treason does have specific meaning, as per the 99 or 101 different treason acts, plus also we have other ones since, such as the Criminal Code Act, the federal one, then basically, that covers certain things that is defined as treason. So that includes things like if you have sex with the king's daughter when you're not married to the king's daughter, or you have sex with the king's wife or the queen's husband or whatever. So some, I guess, today would be seen as sort of silly in a way, but obviously that has specific purpose in terms of the throne, who should inherit it, that kind of thing. But you also have things like, trying to execute the monarch or threaten to do so. So there are some people that actually do that, but the courts and police probably don't care, to be honest. So also it is pretty hard to read with the bright area that I'm in, but Demetra says about fraudulent voting, aren't all courts under a corporation? So again, don't wish to get too sidetracked in this particular video because I want to get out of the sun and whatnot, but with, you know, all courts are corporations, all governments are corporations, all government departments, etc. That is misunderstood. So the reason why that came about was a combination of a couple of different people. So in the USA, you had a person called David Wynn Miller, and he invented a lot of interesting things, and such as, you know, the name fiction, where if you have capital letters for your name, then that's not really you, that's a corporation, and you do all this garbage in court where you say, I have 1 foot upon the sea and 1 foot upon the land, I hereby renounce my birthing certificate. Because birth, as in the word B-I-R-T-H, sounds the same as B-E-R-T-H. So they say, oh, that shows that you're in a maritime jurisdiction. The same with bar for sandbar, even though what the bar really was literally a bar or a rail in a court to separate people who were allowed to present to the court and those that couldn't. And those people became barristers, but now solicitors can present to the court too. And originally, you know, anyone could present themselves in the court, but things became a bit unruly where you have people that don't know what they're talking about legally, where they just say, imagine you have a contract with someone and someone sues you, and the whole grounds of them suing you is they ripped me off, but they can't articulate what that means or how they ripped you off, then it wastes your time, that kind of thing. So that's why they professionalise the industry. Plus also, you know, sort of being over-professionalised where you have Buckley chances of winning if you are a self-represented litigant, as an example, or self-represented defendant, depending on the situation. But anyway, you also have Scott Bartell. He had a video probably 15 years ago or something like that called What the FUQ, Frequently Unanswered Questions. And again, that was a misinterpretation of what corporation means and, you know, that kind of thing. So, without getting into exactly what a corporation is, but if you didn't have the government working as if it was a corporation, as an example, then you would have to have a whole new business, basically, open every time someone left the government or every time you had an election, that kind of thing. It's the same as the idea of the Crown being a corporation or a body politic or a body corporate, whichever way you want to look at it. If, well, technically you are supposed to have all the governments get dissolved if the monarch dies and then you have fresh elections, but we don't do that anymore. That was the demise of the Crown Act. But basically, yeah, so I don't really want to get into all the details, but you get the idea, because otherwise I can waffle on about partnerships, that in a normal business partnership, if one of the partners dies and technically the business dies and then you have to make a new partnership, etc., versus a corporation where you don't. But I'm getting far off track, but that's fine. So the purpose of this particular video is that I'm suggesting that the little parties, as in political parties, merge or get absorbed by, so mergers and acquisitions, by the United Australia Party. The same with the, you know, there's a lot of independents that run every election, and every election they fail because the system is rigged in favour of political parties. And, you know, you can either think, hey, look, it shouldn't be like that, so therefore I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to run in an election, you know, this is just ridiculous, or I'll just keep running an election and maybe one day things will change and improve. But the other side of the coin is you can look at what the reality is and try and get in that way. And basically with the original United Australia Party, that was formed by Bob Menzies and others. I think there's Joseph Lyons in there and some other people. And they basically merged a whole bunch of little political parties together and then made a big one that could actually take on the so-called big boys. And then the UAP eventually, in a way, became the Liberal Party. So you have similar in the USA, where you had certain parties, but again, I'll try to keep on track. The idea behind the United Australia Party, as in the current one, which was called Palmer United Party when they couldn't register the UAP name, and then they changed that when they could, is to unite various political parties so that they become a strong force. So it's like a ancient Greek fairy tale, an Aesop fable, which was later adopted by the Rothschild family. And basically the story goes, there was a young man, say he's in his 20s or whatever, and he's out hunting with his dad with bows and arrows, and he is complaining to his dad that his dad wants him to get along with his brothers and sisters. And he's like, why should I do that? I'm better than them, blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with everything they say or do. So the father asked for one of his son's arrows, and he just bent it, snap, it broke in two. And he said, now, I want you to get a bunch of arrows, like 5 of them, and try and break them together. And the son tried as hard as he could, and he couldn't break them. So the idea was you get unity and you have strength. So strength through unity, what's it called on the US dollar, e pluribus something. But basically, you can go around being a single arrow and be weak and not get anything done ever. Potentially you can get something done, but it's very, very difficult to. Or you can unite. So I do suggest that people sign up to the UAP party if they don't wish to, well, that's a bit redundant saying party after UAP, but Australia Party. And, if you want to be a candidate, you have about 4 hours today to sign up and submit your candidacy questionnaire. So they have certain questions like, are you in a political... Just got a notice that the internet reception wasn't good. So anyway, so the UAP has a 2-step membership. You get free membership, you sign up on their website, then they'll send you an email with your membership number. You have to answer questions like, are you in another political party? That kind of thing. And again, the internet's a bit dodgy. So you can sign up to the UAP, do a little form on their website. It's free to sign up. And then you can apply to be a candidate. They have a link on the website, but they will send an email out, which finishes at 5 p.m. today, presumably Queensland time, since they're based in Queensland, which is about, just under 4 hours. Then you do the form there. That includes questions like, do you have any political experience if you ran in elections, that kind of thing. And, then take your photo. You have to have like business attire, torso and headshot, something like that. And, just submit it. If you don't want to be involved with the Liberal or Labor parties, then, that's a good idea if you want to get into politics, because most politicians will just tell you join the Liberal or Labor Party and then suck up to the incumbent person for, the next 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, however long it is until they retire after 12 years of Parliament to get their super privileges, and then hope that you're the next person that they pick. And even though it's not supposed to be like that, that's how it is. You see so many politicians that have, it's a father-daughter combination, father-son, mother-daughter, that kind of thing. There's numerous examples of that. So as a couple of examples around Newcastle area and Lake Macquarie in New South Wales, you have the Fitzgibbons. So Joel Fitzgibbon's dad was a politician, and he actually wrote me a letter when I was, I don't know, about 5 or 4 or something like that, saying I did something really good. I don't know what it was, but it was done through the school. And I did actually meet Eric Fitzgibbon before he died, but you also have various other politicians. But anyway, this internet's really dodgy, so I'll bugger off now, but just thought I'd put it out there. And also ditto for independents that are perennial candidates, myself included, that, you know, it's a good idea to join a UAP, get a fully funded campaign where you're getting probably $100,000 worth of advertising. That includes general advertising and specific. But, you know, that can open doors. If you have all these little tiny parties that take little slithers of the vote here and there, then why not join them together, get the best candidates from each of the parties and each of the independents, and run a proper campaign that is actually properly funded and become the equivalent of the new Liberal Party or Labor Party. If we can only fit 2 major parties in the system, then why not do what the UAP originally did and go from there? Anyway, I'll bugger off because it's really annoying when it keeps freezing and saying I've got no internet. So, bye. Have a lovely day. Sorry the video went for a bit long too and went a bit off track, but anyway, have a lovely day.